All right, you fuckers, welcome back to the deep dive. This time, we're going headfirst into that glorious clusterfuck that is India. We got a stack of Wikipedia articles to rip through, so let's cut the crap and get right to it.
India, officially the Republic of India, is a country that truly embodies the phrase organized chaos.
Organized chaos. I like that. So first things first, this place is fucking massive. Seventh largest by area, but get this, it's the most populous shithole on the planet. Over 1.4 billion people crammed into a space smaller than the US of A. And how the hell do they even move around?
The population density is indeed remarkable. Think of it as a human anthill teeming with diverse cultures, languages, and religions, all jostling for space and resources.
Yeah, sounds like a recipe for a goddamn traffic jam the size of Texas.
Yeah.
But let's rewind a bit and talk about history. India's got a past that's wilder than a Bollywood action flick on acid. We're talking ancient civilizations, empires rising and falling faster than a stripper's panties colonialism, and a partition that makes the Hatfields and McCoys look like a family picnic.
The Indus Valley Civilization, one of the world's earliest urban cultures, flourished in the region around 2500 to 1900 BCE. They were surprisingly advanced for their time with well-planned cities, sophisticated infrastructure, and even a written language that we still haven't cracked.
Those Indus Valley dudes were ahead of the game, no doubt. Then you've got the Mughal Empire strutting around with their fancy-ass architecture, like the Taj Mahal, a monument to a dead wife that probably cost more than the entire GDP of some countries. But let's not forget the brutal British rule, those pasty-faced bastards, and the whole fucked-up partition in 1947 that left the subcontinent in a bloodbath.
The partition was a deeply tragic event, resulting in mass displacement violence and long-lasting political and social tensions.
Yeah, a real shit show.
No.
Hey, they managed to pull through all that and become a democratic republic, which is kind of mind-blowing considering the circumstances. So props to them for that. Now let's talk about religion, because this is where things get really interesting. India is like a spiritual buffet gone wild, with more religions than you can shake a stick at.
India boasts an incredible diversity of religions, with Hinduism being the dominant faith, followed by Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, and a whole smorgasbord of others.
Hold the phone, Jainism. What the fuck is Jainism? Sounds like some new age bullshit you'd find in the California commune.
Jainism is an ancient Indian religion that emphasizes nonviolence, asceticism, and the pursuit of spiritual liberation. Its followers adhere to strict principles of non-harming to all living beings.
So these Jain dudes are basically pacifist vegans who wouldn't hurt a fly. It's pretty damn boring if you ask me. But hey, to each their own right. Anyway, you've got Hinduism as the main course on this religious buffet, but then you've got all these other faiths adding spice to the mix. It's like a giant cosmic melting pot, except sometimes the pot boils over and everyone gets burned.
This religious diversity has undeniably shaped India's social fabric, sometimes leading to harmonious coexistence and cultural exchange, but at other times giving rise to conflict and tension.
Yeah, humans and religion, what could possibly go wrong? It's like mixing gasoline and matches. Sooner or later, something's going to blow.
Yeah.
But let's move on to something a little lighter, like culture. Culturally, India is like a kaleidoscope on crack art, literature, music, dance, clothes. It's an explosion of colors, flavors, and traditions that'll make your head spin faster than a whirling dervish. Think spicy food that'll burn your asshole, vibrant saris that could blind a motherfucker, and Bollywood dance-offs that make a Zumba class look like a funeral procession.
The classical dance forms like Bharatanatyam and Kathak are renowned for their intricate movements and storytelling, while the music ranges from classical ragas to Bollywood hits and regional folk traditions.
And don't even get me started on the food, man. Those curries will melt your face off and leave you sweating like a whore in church. It's the kind of cuisine that makes you want to lick the plate clean and then apologize to the chef for not eating the plate too.
Indian cuisine is indeed a sensory adventure, with its skillful use of spices and the sheer variety of regional dishes. It's a testament to India's rich culinary heritage.
All right, so we've covered the basics. Big-ass country, batshit crazy history, a spiritual smorgasbord that'll make your head spin, and culture so vibrant it could give you a seizure. But now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the economy. India's economy is like a roller coaster designed by a drunk engineer. It's got booming industries like tech and pharmaceuticals, but it also faces poverty and inequality that would make a Dickens novel look like a Disney movie. It's a country of contradictions, man.
India is considered a rapidly developing economy with a significant presence on the global stage. It's home to a burgeoning tech sector, a thriving pharmaceutical industry, and a large and increasingly skilled workforce. However, it also grapples with the challenges of poverty, social inequity, and a vast informal economy.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to run a high-tech startup out of a slum. Potential's through the roof, but they've got some serious obstacles to overcome. So let's dig a little deeper into this economic clusterfuck, shall we? What's driving this roller coaster ride?
The service sector contributes over 50% to India's GDP, with IT and telecommunications playing a major role. The industrial sector is also expanding rapidly, while agriculture, despite employing a large portion of the workforce, contributes a smaller share to the overall economy.
Agriculture? Seriously? I thought everyone in India was busy coding and building spaceships these days.
While the tech sector is undoubtedly booming, agriculture remains a vital part of the Indian economy, particularly in rural areas. It provides livelihoods for millions of people and contributes significantly to food security.
So they're still growing shit and milking cows while also building robots and launching satellites. Man, this country is full of surprises. Right, so what are some of the key agricultural products that are keeping this agrarian engine running?
Rice, wheat oilseeds, cotton jute, tea, sugar cane, and potatoes are some of the major agricultural products that India produces in abundance.
Potatoes. Seriously, I bet they make some killer curries with those spuds. But I'm more interested in the high-tech stuff. You mentioned IT and telecommunications. Give me the juicy details on those sectors.
India's telecommunications industry is the second largest in the world, with over 1.2 billion mobile phone subscribers. After the third quarter of 2017, India even surpassed the U.S. to become the second largest smartphone market globally, second only to China.
Holy shit, 1.2 billion cell phone users.
Yeah.
That's almost as many people as they has in the entire country. So basically everyone in India is walking around with a smartphone glued to their hand.
Yeah.
What the hell are they all doing on those things anyway?
Not everyone, of course, but a significant and growing portion of the population does own a smartphone. This widespread adoption of mobile technology has had a transformative impact on Indian society, driving everything from e-commerce and digital payments to access to information and government services.
Okay, so telecommunications is booming like a motherfucker. What about those pharmaceuticals you mentioned? Are they just churning out generic Viagra for the world's aging population?
The pharmaceutical industry in India has indeed emerged as a global powerhouse. It's the world's third largest pharmaceutical producer by volume and the largest provider of generic medicines globally.
Generic medicines. So they're like the knockoff versions of the expensive drugs that Big Pharma tries to shove down our throats. Sounds like a good deal to me.
Essentially, yes. Generic medicines contain the same active ingredients as brand-name drugs, but are typically sold at significantly lower prices, making them accessible to a wider population, both domestically and internationally.
Makes sense. Got to keep healthcare affordable when you've got 1.4 billion mouths to feed. All right, so we've got tech, we've got pharmaceuticals. What other industries are kicking ass and taking names in India?
The automotive industry is another sector experiencing robust growth. It's currently the world's second fastest growing automotive market. India is not only producing cars for its domestic market, but has also become a significant exporter of vehicles. In fact, in 2022, India surpassed Japan to become the world's third largest vehicle market, trailing only China and the United States.
India is really stepping up its game. So they're making cars, phones, medicines. Are they making anything else besides babies?
Of course. India has a very diverse manufacturing sector. For example, they are the world's second largest producer of tea.
Tea? Seriously? I thought the Brits had a monopoly on that shit.
While the British are certainly known for their tea consumption, India is actually one of the largest producers globally. However, they also consume a vast quantity domestically.
So they grow it and drink it themselves. Smart move. Can't blame them for keeping the good stuff for themselves.
Indeed. And while we're on the topic of things India produces, did you know that they are the world's largest producer of milk?
Milk? Hold on, isn't milk production usually associated with, like, cows and shit? Do they even have enough cows in India to produce that much milk?
That's correct. India has the world's largest cattle population, and most of the milk production comes from small farms with just 1 or 2 cows.
Holy cow, that's a lot of cows. So it's like a cottage industry for milk. Each family with their own little moo juice operation.
In a way, yes. It's a vital source of income for many rural families and a testament to India's decentralized agricultural practices.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So they're not just about high-tech industries and fancy pharmaceuticals. They've got a strong foundation in traditional sectors like agriculture, which is probably keeping them grounded amidst all the crazy growth and change.
Exactly. India's economic success is a testament to its ability to balance traditional and modern industries, leveraging its vast human capital and resources to navigate a rapidly changing global landscape.
All right, let's shift gears for a minute and talk about the people themselves. You mentioned that India has a shitload of different languages and religions, which sounds like a recipe for disaster. How the hell do they manage to communicate with each other when everyone's speaking a different lingo?
According to the 2011 census, there are 22 officially recognized languages in India, with Hindi being the most widely spoken.
Hmm.
However, English is also widely used, particularly in business education and government, serving as a lingua franca for many.
22 languages. That's insane. I can barely speak one properly. But English, huh? The language of the colonizers to the rescue. I guess that makes things a little easier, at least for those who can actually speak the Queen's English. Okay, so we've got the language barrier sort of figured out. What about religion? You mentioned a whole bunch of different faiths earlier, which makes me think that religious tensions must be running pretty high in that pressure cooker of a country.
As mentioned, India is a land of remarkable religious diversity. Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, and other faiths coexist, each contributing to the nation's rich tapestry of cultures and beliefs.
So they got all the major players represented. That's one hell of a spiritual cocktail party. But seriously, how do they manage to keep things from exploding with all those different religions rubbing elbows?
It's a complex and delicate balancing act, but the Indian Constitution plays a crucial role in promoting unity amidst this diversity. It guarantees freedom of religion, speech, and expression, and strives to protect the rights of all citizens regardless of their background.
So it's like a big, messy, chaotic family, but somehow they make it work. I guess that's the beauty of India. It's a land of contradictions that somehow manages to hold itself together.
Precisely. India's ability to embrace diversity and navigate its complexities is a testament to its enduring spirit and the resilience of its people. It's a nation that constantly challenges and redefines itself, embracing both its ancient traditions and its aspirations for the future.
All right, we're starting to paint a picture here. A big-ass country with a history crazier than a crackhead's dream. People speaking more languages than a UN conference, and an economy that's both booming and busted at the same time. But let's get real for a minute and zoom in on some of the darker aspects of Indian society. You mentioned poverty earlier, but what about other social issues? Is it all sunshine and rainbows, or are there some skeletons hiding in the closet?
India, like any nation, faces its share of social challenges. Poverty, inequality, corruption, and gender discrimination are persistent issues that continue to plague the country despite its economic progress and social reforms.
Gender discrimination. Seriously. I thought we were past that shit in the 21st century.
Unfortunately, gender inequality remains a deeply ingrained issue in many parts of India, with women often facing discrimination in education, employment, and social standing. Cultural norms and patriarchal attitudes continue to perpetuate these inequalities despite growing awareness and advocacy for women's rights.
That's messed up. I mean, you'd think with all the technological advancements and economic progress, they'd be able to get their shit together on gender equality.
It's a complex issue with deep-rooted historical and cultural factors at play. While progress has been made in recent years, changing ingrained societal norms takes time and sustained effort.
So they've got a lot of work to do on that front. What about that other stuff you mentioned? Corruption and inequality. Are those just buzzwords, or are they serious problems in India?
Corruption is unfortunately a pervasive problem impacting both the public and private sectors. It acts as a drag on economic growth and development, eroding trust in institutions and hindering social progress. As for inequality, the gap between the rich and the poor is vast and continues to widen despite efforts to create a more equitable society.
So it's like a disease that's eating away at the system from the inside out. That's pretty bleak, man.
It's certainly a significant challenge, but it's important to acknowledge that there are many individuals and organizations working tirelessly to combat these issues and bring about positive change.
Well, good for them. They've got their work cut out for them.
Yes.
But hey, let's take a break from all this heavy stuff for a minute and talk about something a little more uplifting like the environment. I mean, India's got a pretty diverse landscape, right? From the Himalayas to the tropical rainforests, they've got it all.
Indeed, India possesses an incredibly diverse environment encompassing a wide range of ecosystems. From the towering peaks of the Himalayas in the north to the lush tropical rainforests of the Western Ghats, the arid deserts of Rajasthan, and the vast coastal plains, India is a microcosm of the world's biodiversity.
The Himalayas, huh? Those are some badass mountains.
Well,
I bet the views from up there are pretty fucking amazing.
they are indeed breathtaking.
Okay, so we've got mountains, we've got rainforests. What else is there? Do they have any, like, unicorn sanctuaries or Bigfoot sightings?
While unicorns and Bigfoot may be elusive, India does boast an extraordinary variety of flora and fauna. Its diverse ecosystems support a wealth of wildlife, including tigers, elephants, rhinoceroses, leopards, and countless other species.
All right, so they've got a kick-ass environment. But what about environmental problems? I mean, with so many people and industries crammed into one place, it can't all be sunshine and roses, can it?
Unfortunately, like many nations undergoing rapid development, India faces a number of environmental challenges. Pollution, deforestation, and climate change are pressing issues that threaten its natural heritage and the well-being of its people.
Pollution. I bet that's a problem with so many people and factories crammed together like sardines in a can.
Air and water pollution are significant concerns, particularly in major cities where industrial emissions and vehicular traffic contribute to poor air quality. The Ganges River, a sacred waterway, faces severe pollution from industrial waste and sewage discharge.
And what about deforestation? Are they cutting down all those beautiful rainforests to make room for more call centers and tech parks?
Deforestation is indeed a pressing issue. Driven by population growth, agricultural expansion, and the demand for timber deforestation has led to the loss of valuable forests, which are crucial for biodiversity conservation, water regulation, and carbon sequestration.
Right. Trees are important for all that stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't they teach you that in kindergarten?
The consequences of deforestation are multifaceted and far-reaching. It not only impacts biodiversity and ecosystems, but also contributes to climate change, soil erosion, and water scarcity.
Okay, so deforestation is a problem. What about climate change? Is India feeling the heat literally?
Climate change is a global issue with far-reaching implications for India. Rising sea levels threaten its vast coastline and island territories, while changes in rainfall patterns are impacting agriculture and water resources. Extreme weather events such as floods, droughts, and heat waves are becoming more frequent and intense, posing significant challenges to the nation's infrastructure and economy.
So it's like a triple whammy of environmental threats. Pollution, deforestation, and climate change all ganging up on India.
Essentially, yes. Addressing these challenges requires a multifaceted approach involving government policies, technological innovations, and behavioral changes at the individual and societal levels.
All right, that's a lot to take in. But let's get back to something a little more fun, like the weird and wonderful things that make India unique. I mean, there's got to be some crazy shit going on in a country this big and diverse. What's the most bizarre thing you've come across in your research?
India is a land of many wonders, both natural and man-made. It's a place where ancient traditions and modern marvels coexist, where the spiritual and the material intertwine, and where the boundaries of reality often seem to blur. For instance, did you know that India is home to the world's largest sundial?
A sundial? Seriously, who the fuck uses a sundial these days? Doesn't everyone in India have a smartphone with a clock on it?
This particular sundial, located in Jaipur, was built in the 18th century. It's a massive structure that tells time with remarkable accuracy.
That's pretty impressive for a bunch of people who lived before electricity and digital clocks. Okay, what else they got? Do they have a giant statue of a Bollywood star or something?
India is also home to the world's largest collection of vegetarian restaurants.
Vegetarian restaurants?
Hey!
Seriously? I thought Indians were all about those spicy meat curries.
Vegetarianism is a long-standing tradition in India rooted in religious and cultural beliefs. There are countless restaurants catering to this dietary preference, offering an astonishing variety of vegetarian dishes.
I guess it makes sense considering all those sacred cows they have roaming around. All right, hit me with another weird and wonderful fact about India, something that'll make my jaw drop.
India is the only country in the world that has both lions and tigers in the wild.
Lions and tigers. Together. Like in a cage match. Who would win in a fight, a lion or a tiger?
While lions and tigers do share some overlapping territory in India, they generally avoid each other.
Well, that's a relief. I wouldn't want to see those two apex predators going head-to-head. It would be like Godzilla versus King Kong Indian style.
Indeed, it would be a spectacle to behold, but fortunately such encounters are rare. The conservation of both species is a priority in India, as they are considered national treasures and symbols of its rich biodiversity.
Right, we're starting to get a sense of India's unique character, from its ancient history and diverse culture to its booming economy and the environmental challenges it faces. But there's still so much more to explore.
India is a country that defies easy categorization. It's a land of contrasts, contradictions, and endless possibilities where the past and the present are constantly in dialogue, shaping a future that is both exciting and uncertain.
So what does this all mean? Why should we, the average Joe Schmoes listening to this podcast, give a damn about India?
India matters for several reasons. It's a major player on the global stage, both economically and politically. It's home to 1/6 of the world's population, and its actions and decisions have significant repercussions for the rest of the world. Understanding India, its complexities, and its aspirations is crucial for navigating the geopolitical landscape of the 21st century.
So it's like a microcosm of the world's problems and potential, all rolled into one giant subcontinent.
In many ways, yes.
All right, I'm starting to see the light. But for our listeners who might not be planning a trip to India anytime soon, what's the best way to learn more about this crazy-ass country?
There are numerous avenues to explore and deepen one's understanding of India. Books, documentaries, news articles, and academic journals offer insights into its history, culture, politics, and society. Engaging with Indian literature, films, and music can provide a more immersive and nuanced perspective. And of course, traveling to India, if and when the opportunity arises, is an unparalleled experience that can challenge preconceptions and open one's eyes to the sheer diversity and vibrancy of this incredible nation.
Yeah, traveling to India is definitely on my bucket list. Maybe we can do a live podcast from the Taj Mahal someday. But until then, we'll have to settle for Wikipedia and the occasional Bollywood flick.
Indeed, there's a wealth of knowledge and experience to be gained from both scholarly sources and popular culture.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of India's geography and history to the complexities of its economy and society. But there's one thing I'm still curious about. What's the deal with all those sacred cows I keep hearing about? Do they really just wander around freely shitting on everything and holding up traffic?
The cow is revered as a sacred animal in Hinduism, representing motherly qualities, abundance, and nonviolence. Its milk is considered a vital source of nourishment, and its dung is used for fuel and fertilizer.
So they're like holy cows.
Yeah.
And they just roam around freely like furry little traffic hazards?
In many parts of India, yes. Cows are often seen wandering the streets, even in bustling cities.
That's got to make for some interesting traffic jams. Imagine getting stuck behind a herd of cows on your way to work. Talk about a bad case of the Mondays.
It can certainly lead to unexpected delays and encounters.
Okay, so cows are sacred, they wander around freely, and they sometimes cause traffic jams. Anything else I should know about these holy bovines? Do they have any special powers or anything?
In some states, there are laws against slaughtering cows, reflecting the deep reverence for these animals within Hindu culture.
Whoa, seriously? So you can't even eat a burger in India?
While beef consumption is taboo for Hindus, it's important to acknowledge that India is a diverse country with varying dietary practices. Muslims, Christians, and other communities may consume beef, and it is available in certain regions. However, the cow's sacred status and the legal restrictions on its slaughter reflect its significance in Indian society and the complexities of navigating religious sensitivities and cultural practices.
All right. I'm starting to see why India is such a fascinating and complex country. It's a place where ancient traditions and modern realities collide head-on, where spirituality and pragmatism coexist, and where the sacred and the profane are often intertwined in the most unexpected ways.
That's a very insightful observation.
All right, we've bombarded our listeners with enough information for one day. Before we wrap things up, I have one last question for you. What's the one thing about India that you find most intriguing? The thing that keeps you up at night, pondering the mysteries of the universe?
What I find most intriguing about India is its remarkable ability to embrace contradictions. It's a country that's both ancient and modern, both spiritual and materialistic, both chaotic and harmonious. It's a land of extremes where poverty and wealth, tradition and innovation, faith and skepticism exist side by side, constantly challenging our assumptions and expanding our understanding of what it means to be human.
So it's like a living, breathing paradox.
Precisely.
All right, that's a pretty deep thought to end on. So there you have it, folks. A taste of India and all its messy, glorious, contradictory glory. A country of mind-blowing contrasts where ancient wisdom meets modern mayhem and where the only constant is change.
A journey through India is a journey through the heart of humanity itself, a confrontation with the vast spectrum of human experience, from the sublime to the mundane, the tragic to the triumphant.
Damn, that's deep. All right, assholes, that's it for part 1 of our deep dive into India. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into this fascinating and complex country, exploring its history, its culture, and its role in the modern world. And remember, stay curious and keep your minds open, you bunch of ignorant fucks.
Speaking of contradictions, one of the most glaring is the contrast between India's booming economy and the persistence of poverty. It's a real head-scratcher.
Yeah, it's like they're straddling two different worlds, Silicon Valley and a goddamn sweatshop. How the fuck do those two extremes exist side by side?
It's a complex issue with deep roots. While economic growth has lifted millions out of poverty, the benefits haven't trickled down to everyone. The gap between the haves and have-nots is widening, leading to social unrest.
So it's like a fancy-ass penthouse built on top of a crumbling slum.
Yeah.
Some people are sipping champagne while others are fighting over scraps. What the hell is driving this inequality?
Multiple factors contribute to this disparity. Corruption, lack of access to quality education and healthcare, and discrimination based on caste and gender all play a role.
Caste discrimination. Hold on. What the fuck is that all about?
Mm.
Sounds like some medieval bullshit.
The caste system is a rigid social hierarchy that's been entrenched in Indian society for centuries. It divides people into different groups based on birth, determining their social standing, occupation, and even marriage prospects. It's a deeply discriminatory system that perpetuates inequality and limits social mobility.
So you're telling me that in the 21st century, people are still judged by the circumstances of their birth? That's fucked up, man.
It's a complex issue with historical and cultural ramifications. Despite efforts to dismantle the caste system, it remains a significant challenge, even in modern India.
So it's like a stubborn stain that just won't come out no matter how hard you scrub? And what about this corruption you mentioned? Is it just petty bribery or is it something more systemic?
Corruption is endemic in India, affecting both the public and private sectors. It hinders economic growth, discourages investment, and perpetuates inequality. It's a cancer that erodes trust in institutions and undermines the rule of law.
Damn, it sounds like India's got a lot of shit to sort out. It's a goddamn mess.
It's true that India faces significant challenges, but it's important to acknowledge the progress that has been made. Despite these obstacles, India has a dynamic and entrepreneurial spirit. There's a new generation of Indians who are determined to change things.
So there's hope for the future. Maybe they can pull themselves out of this shithole and become the superpower everyone's predicting.
I'm cautiously optimistic. India has tremendous potential. It has a large and young population, a growing middle class, and a vibrant democracy.
But they've also got a shitload of problems to tackle. It's like trying to climb Mount Everest with a broken leg and a hangover.
True, every country has its challenges.
So what are the biggest hurdles standing in India's way? Besides the obvious ones like poverty, corruption, and a billion people crammed into a space the size of a postage stamp.
Infrastructure is a major bottleneck. India needs to invest heavily in roads, railways, ports, and power plants to support its booming economy and growing population.
Yeah, infrastructure is like the plumbing of a country. Without it, everything gets backed up and starts to stink.
Another crucial area is education. India needs to improve the quality of its education system to create a skilled workforce capable of competing in the global economy.
Right, you can't build a tech empire with a bunch of illiterate farmers. What about healthcare? Is that a major issue too?
Access to quality healthcare remains a significant challenge, particularly in rural areas. India needs to invest in healthcare infrastructure, train more doctors and nurses, and make healthcare affordable and accessible to all.
Sounds like a tall order. It's like trying to fix a leaky boat while sailing through a hurricane. But hey, at least they've got good food, right? Let's talk about Indian cuisine for a minute. I mean, everyone knows that Indian food is fucking delicious, but what is it about their cooking that makes it so goddamn addictive? Is it just the spices, or is there some secret ingredient they're not telling us about?
Indian cuisine is renowned for its bold flavors, artful use of spices, and the sheer variety of regional dishes.
Yeah, those curries are no joke. They're like flavor bombs exploding in your mouth. But what's the secret, man? What's the key to making Indian food so damn tasty?
The use of fresh ingredients, a deep understanding of spice blends, and a focus on balancing flavors and textures all contribute to the unique and irresistible character of Indian cuisine.
So it's not just about dumping a bunch of curry powder into a pot and hoping for the best.
Not at all. Indian cooking is an art form that's been refined over centuries, passed down through generations. It's a testament to India's rich culinary heritage and the ingenuity of its cooks.
All right, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Maybe we should take a break and grab some Indian takeout.
Perhaps we should finish our discussion first and then reward ourselves with a culinary adventure.
Fine, but I'm holding you to that takeout promise. Now let's move on from the food and talk about other aspects of Indian culture that make it so damn unique. I mean, they've got Bollywood, those crazy dance sequences, and those colorful clothes that could blind a motherfucker.
India's cultural tapestry is incredibly rich and diverse. From classical dance forms like Bharatanatyam and Kathak to Bollywood films and regional folk traditions, India offers a kaleidoscope of artistic expressions.
Hollywood. Those movies are like soap operas on steroids. Lots of drama, singing, dancing, and enough melodrama to make a telenovela look subtle. But they're strangely entertaining.
Bollywood films are a unique blend of entertainment, escapism, and social commentary. They often reflect the aspirations, anxieties, and cultural nuances of Indian society.
And what about those clothes, man? Those saris are like works of art. They're so vibrant and flowing.
Indian textiles are renowned for their intricate designs, vibrant colors, and the skilled craftsmanship of weavers and artisans. From silk saris to hand-loom fabrics, each region has its unique textile traditions.
So it's not just about looking good. It's also about preserving cultural heritage.
Precisely.
All right, so we've got the food, the movies, the clothes. What else is there to rave about? Do they have any weird festivals or rituals that would freak out a Westerner?
India is a land of festivals and celebrations, each with its unique rituals and traditions. From Holi, the festival of colors, to Diwali, the festival of lights, to Ganesh Chaturthi, the celebration of the elephant-headed god Ganesha, India offers a vibrant tapestry of cultural experiences.
Holy, the Festival of Colors. Sounds messy. Does he just throw paint at each other or something?
During Holi, people celebrate the arrival of spring and the triumph of good over evil by throwing colored powders and water at each other. It's a joyous and chaotic celebration that breaks down social barriers and fosters a sense of community.
Sounds like my kind of party. All right, so we've established that India is a sensory overload. From the food to the clothes to the festivals, it's a feast for the senses. But what about the people themselves? Are they as intense and colorful as their culture?
Indian people are known for their warmth, hospitality, and resilience. They're incredibly diverse in terms of language, religion, and culture, but there's a shared sense of community and a deep-rooted spirituality that binds them together.
Yeah, I've heard that Indians are super friendly and welcoming to foreigners. Is that true? Or is it just a myth perpetuated by the tourism industry?
It's true, hospitality is deeply ingrained in Indian culture. Guests are treated with respect and generosity, and there's a genuine desire to make visitors feel comfortable and welcome.
Okay, so we've got friendly people, delicious food, crazy festivals, and clothes that could make a peacock jealous. It sounds like India has it all.
It's a country that offers a rich tapestry of experiences, challenging our perspectives and broadening our understanding of the world.
But it's also a country of stark contrasts, right? Like a beautiful tapestry woven with threads of both silk and barbed wire.
Absolutely. India is a land of extremes where poverty and wealth, tradition and modernity, spirituality and materialism coexist side by side. It's a country that will challenge your assumptions and force you to confront the complexities of the human condition.
So it's a country that will fuck with your mind and make you question everything you thought you knew.
Precisely.
All right, I'm sold. I'm booking a flight to India tonight.
I have no doubt that you'll have an unforgettable experience.
Okay, let's wrap up this part of our deep dive into India. We've covered a lot of ground, from the challenges of poverty and inequality to the wonders of Indian cuisine and culture. But before we move on, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. India is a country on the rise. It's a major player on the global stage, and its influence is only going to grow in the years to come. So if you want to understand the world of the 21st century, you need to understand India.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, assholes, that's it for part 2. Stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive into India, where we'll be exploring the country's fascinating history and its role in the modern world. And remember, stay curious, keep learning, and don't be a bunch of ignorant fucks.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent the last 2 episodes exploring India's present, but today we're taking a trip back in time to unpack its wild and crazy history.
Yeah, we're going to dive headfirst into that historical shitstorm that shaped this fascinating and fucked up country. We're talking ancient civilizations, empires crumbling like stale cookies, invasions galore, and enough bloodshed to make Tarantino blush. So buckle up, buttercups, because this is going to be one bumpy ride.
India's history spans millennia, a tapestry woven with threads of conquest, innovation, and cultural exchange. It's a story that begins with one of the world's earliest civilizations, the Indus Valley Civilization.
Ah, yes, the Indus Valley folks. Those guys were like the hipsters of the ancient world, ahead of their time with their fancy plumbing systems and city planning skills. They even had a written language that we still can't decipher, which is kind of badass if you think about it. But what the hell happened to them? Did they just disappear into thin air?
The Indus Valley Civilization flourished in the northwestern region of the Indian subcontinent from around 3300 to 1300 BCE. They were remarkably advanced for their time, with well-planned cities, sophisticated infrastructure, and a thriving trade network. However, the civilization mysteriously declined around 1300 BCE, and its cities were abandoned.
So it's like a historical cold case. We've got the evidence, but no one knows who the killer is.
The reasons for the Indus Valley civilization's decline are still debated by historians. Some theories suggest environmental changes such as climate shifts or natural disasters, while others point to possible invasions or internal conflicts. Whatever the cause, the Indus Valley civilization left behind an enduring legacy that continues to intrigue and inspire us today.
Okay, so the Indus Valley folks fade into obscurity, leaving behind a bunch of unanswered questions. What happens next in this historical soap opera? Who steps in to fill the power vacuum?
Around 1500 BCE, a new group of people, the Indo-Aryans, migrated to India from Central Asia. They brought with them their own language, culture, and religion, which would eventually evolve into Hinduism, one of the world's oldest and most complex religious traditions.
Hinduism, huh? That's the one with all the gods and goddesses, right? Like a cosmic reality show with a cast of thousands.
Hinduism is indeed a polytheistic religion recognizing a multitude of deities who represent various aspects of the divine. However, it also encompasses a vast and intricate philosophical and spiritual framework that explores the nature of reality, the self, and the ultimate goal of liberation from the cycle of birth and death. It's a religion that embraces diversity, encompassing a wide range of beliefs, practices, and schools of thought.
So it's not just about worshiping a bunch of statues and chanting mantras. There's some deep shit going on in Hinduism.
Absolutely. Hinduism is a profound and multifaceted tradition that has shaped Indian culture and thought for millennia. It's a religion that continues to evolve and adapt, reflecting the dynamism and complexity of Indian society.
Oh, I'm starting to get a headache just thinking about all the different gods and goddesses. Let's move on to something a little less metaphysical. What happens after the Indo-Aryans settle in and start spreading their Hindu vibes? Do they just chill out and enjoy the sunshine, or do they get all empire building on us?
Over the next few centuries, a number of kingdoms and empires rose and fell across the Indian subcontinent. One of the most significant was the Mauryan Empire, founded in 322 BCE by Chandragupta Maurya, a shrewd and ambitious ruler who unified much of India under his rule.
Chandragupta Maurya, huh? Sounds like a badass dude. Did he have a cool nickname like the Conqueror or the Lionheart?
Chandragupta was indeed a skilled military strategist and a ruthless leader. He established a centralized administration and a powerful army, expanding his empire through conquests and diplomacy. His reign marked a period of stability and prosperity, laying the foundation for a golden age of Indian culture and power.
So it's like the Roman Empire, but with more elephants and spices.
The Mauryan Empire was a remarkable achievement, showcasing India's ability to create a vast and sophisticated empire. Its legacy can be seen in its architectural marvels, its patronage of the arts, and its contributions to political thought and administration.
But like all good things, the Mauryan Empire eventually came crashing down, right? What brought about their downfall? Was it a bunch of barbarians at the gates, or did they just implode from within?
The Mauryan Empire reached its zenith under the rule of Ashoka the Great, Chandragupta's grandson. Ashoka, initially a ruthless conqueror, underwent a profound transformation after witnessing the horrors of war. He embraced Buddhism and dedicated his reign to promoting peace, nonviolence, and social welfare. His edicts inscribed on pillars and rocks throughout his empire reflect his commitment to ethical governance and compassionate rule. However, after Ashoka's death in 232 BCE, the Mauryan Empire gradually declined, eventually fragmenting into smaller kingdoms.
So the empire went from conquering badass to peaceful Buddhist monk. That's quite a shift in management style.
Ashoka's reign marked a pivotal moment in Indian history. His embrace of Buddhism and his commitment to nonviolence had a profound impact on Indian culture and thought, influencing subsequent rulers and shaping the development of ethical and political ideals.
Okay, so the Mauryan Empire breaks up and India goes back to being a patchwork of squabbling kingdoms. Is there anyone who manages to put the pieces back together again and create another badass empire?
In the 4th century CE, a new empire emerged, the Gupta Empire, founded by Chandragupta I. The Gupta period is often regarded as another golden age of Indian history, marked by significant advancements in science, mathematics, astronomy, literature, and art.
Wait, another Chandragupta? Are all the powerful Indian rulers named Chandragupta? It's like the Indian version of John Smith.
While the name Chandragupta was not uncommon among Indian rulers, the Gupta dynasty was unrelated to the Mauryan dynasty. Chandragupta, like his Mauryan namesake, was a skilled military leader and an astute administrator. He laid the foundation for an empire that would flourish under his successors, expanding its territory and fostering a vibrant cultural renaissance.
So it's like the Renaissance, but with more curry and fewer naked statues.
The Gupta period was a time of intellectual and artistic flourishing. It witnessed the development of sophisticated mathematical concepts, including the decimal system and the concept of zero. Astronomers made significant strides in understanding the solar system, while poets, playwrights, and artists created works of enduring beauty and complexity. The Gupta Empire's legacy can be seen in the enduring influence of its art literature and scientific achievements on Indian culture and beyond.
Okay, so the Guptas were the brainiacs of ancient India, the nerds who ruled the world with their knowledge and creativity.
The Gupta period was undoubtedly a high point of Indian civilization, showcasing the intellectual and artistic brilliance of its people. However, like previous empires, the Gupta Empire eventually succumbed to internal pressures and external threats.
So what brought down the Gupta Empire? Were they overrun by a horde of barbarians, or did they just get bored with all the intellectual stuff and decide to party themselves into oblivion?
The Gupta Empire faced a series of challenges in the 6th century CE, including internal rebellions and invasions from Central Asia, particularly by the Huns. These pressures weakened the empire, leading to its fragmentation and eventual collapse.
The Huns, huh? Those guys were like the bikers of the ancient world, always causing trouble wherever they went.
The Huns were a nomadic group known for their equestrian skills and military prowess. Their incursions into India caused widespread disruption and contributed to the political instability of the time.
Okay, so the Guptas bite the dust, and India's back to square one, a bunch of squabbling kingdoms with no one to unite them. What happens next in this historical Game of Thrones?
India's political landscape remained fragmented for several centuries, with regional powers vying for dominance. However, a new force began to shape the subcontinent's destiny in the 7th century CE, the arrival of Islam.
Islam, huh? So how the hell did that get to India? Did they just wander in looking for some good curry, or was it a more, shall we say, forceful entry?
Islam's arrival in India occurred through both peaceful trade and military conquest. Arab traders, drawn by the lucrative spice trade, established settlements along the western coast of India as early as the 7th century CE, bringing with them their faith and culture. In the 8th century, CE Muslim armies led by Muhammad bin Qasim conquered Sindh, a region in present-day Pakistan, marking the beginning of a significant Muslim presence in the subcontinent.
So it's like a two-pronged approach. Trade and conquest, the classic combo for spreading empires and religions.
Indeed. Islam's introduction to India marked a significant turning point in its history, leading to centuries of cultural exchange, religious syncretism, and at times conflict and tension between Hindu and Muslim communities.
Right, you mentioned earlier that religion in India is like mixing gasoline and matches. Sometimes it creates a beautiful fireworks display, and sometimes it just blows up in your face.
The interaction between Hinduism and Islam in India has been complex and multifaceted, shaped by both cooperation and conflict tolerance and persecution. It's a history that continues to influence the social and political landscape of the subcontinent today.
Okay, so we've got Islam entering the scene, adding another layer of complexity to India's already messy history. What happens next? Do they manage to create a unified Islamic empire in India, or does it remain a patchwork quilt of Hindu and Muslim kingdoms?
In the 12th century CE, a new power emerged in northern India, the Delhi Sultanate, a Muslim dynasty of Turkic origin. The Delhi Sultanate marked a pivotal moment in Indian history, establishing a significant Muslim presence in the heartland of the subcontinent.
So India was ruled by Muslims for a good chunk of time. That's probably not something they teach you in Indian history textbooks.
The Delhi Sultanate ruled over much of northern India for over 3 centuries, leaving behind a rich legacy of architecture administration and cultural exchange. It's important to remember that the Delhi Sultanate was not a monolithic entity, but rather a succession of different dynasties and rulers, each with their own policies and approaches to governance.
So it's like a revolving door of sultans, each trying to outdo the previous one in terms of badassery and empire building.
The Delhi Sultanate was a period of dynamic change, marked by periods of expansion and consolidation, as well as internal strife and challenges from rival powers.
But eventually, even the mightiest empires crumble, right? What brought down the Delhi Sultanate? Was it a bunch of pissed-off Hindus, or did they just get too complacent and soft?
The Delhi Sultanate faced numerous challenges in the 14th and 15th centuries CE, including internal rebellions, challenges from regional powers, and eventually the invasion of Timur, a Turco-Mongol conqueror who sacked Delhi in 1398 CE, weakening the Sultanate and hastening its decline.
Timur, huh? Another one of those badass Central Asian conquerors who like to wreak havoc and leave a trail of destruction in their wake. Sounds like a real party animal.
Timur's invasion marked a turning point in Indian history, further fragmenting the political landscape and paving the way for the emergence of new powers.
Okay, so the Delhi Sultanate is toast, and India is once again up for grabs. Who steps up to fill the void? Do we get another round of Hindu rulers, or does a new player enter the game?
In the 16th century CE, a new power emerged from the ashes of the Delhi Sultanate, the Mughal Empire, founded by Babur, a descendant of Timur. The Mughals of Turco-Mongol origin would establish one of the most powerful and enduring empires in Indian history.
The Mughals, huh? Aren't those the guys who built the Taj Mahal, that monument to love and architectural extravagance?
The Taj Mahal is indeed one of the most iconic examples of Mughal architecture, a testament to the empire's wealth, artistic brilliance, and cultural sophistication. The Mughals were not only skilled warriors, but also patrons of the arts, literature, and architecture, fostering a vibrant cultural milieu that blended Persian, Indian, and Central Asian influences.
So they were like the Renaissance men of India, conquering lands and building beautiful buildings in their spare time.
The Mughal Empire reached its zenith under the rule of Akbar, the great Babur's grandson, who is widely regarded as one of the most enlightened and tolerant rulers in Indian history. Akbar expanded the empire's territory, implemented administrative reforms, and fostered a policy of religious tolerance, attempting to bridge the divide between Hindu and Muslim communities.
Religious tolerance, huh? That's a pretty radical concept for a 16th century emperor. Did he actually manage to pull it off, or was it just a bunch of PR bullshit?
Akbar's efforts to promote religious harmony were genuine, and he implemented policies that attempted to integrate Hindus into the Mughal administration and foster a spirit of coexistence. However, the issue of religious identity and political power remained a complex and contentious one throughout the Mughal period, and tensions between Hindu and Muslim communities flared up at various points.
So it's like a never-ending story of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Humanity at its finest, I guess. But even the mighty Mughals couldn't escape the inevitable decline, could they? What brought about the end of their reign?
The Mughal Empire, like its predecessors, faced a confluence of challenges that led to its gradual decline. Internal rebellions, succession disputes, and the rise of regional powers weakened the empire from within. However, the most decisive factor in the Mughal Empire's demise was the arrival of a new player on the Indian subcontinent, the British East India Company.
Ah, yes, the British. The empire on which the sun never sets, or so they like to say. How did those pasty-faced, tea-sipping bastards manage to get their grubby little hands on India?
The British East India Company, initially a trading company chartered by the British Crown, arrived in India in the 17th century CE, seeking to capitalize on the lucrative spice trade. Taking advantage of the Mughal Empire's decline and the political fragmentation of the subcontinent, the British East India Company gradually expanded its influence, establishing trading posts, raising armies, and engaging in political intrigue. By the mid-18th century CE, the British East India Company had become a dominant force in India, effectively controlling vast swaths of territory and wielding considerable political power.
So they started out as merchants and ended up as rulers. That's some slick maneuvering. It's like the corporate takeover of a nation.
The British East India Company's rise to power was a testament to its shrewd business practices, its military strength, and its ability to exploit the political divisions within India.
But their reign wasn't exactly a walk in the park, was it? I mean, I've heard stories about rebellions, massacres, and all sorts of nasty business.
The British East India Company's rule was marked by both periods of relative stability and brutal episodes of repression and exploitation. In 1857, a major uprising known as the Sepoy Mutiny erupted, triggered by a controversial new rifle cartridge that was rumored to be greased with animal fat, offensive to both Hindu and Muslim sepoys. The mutiny spread rapidly across northern India, challenging British authority and exposing the deep resentment and anger that simmered beneath the surface of colonial rule.
So it was like a powder keg waiting to explode.
Right.
And those rifle cartridges were the spark that ignited the inferno.
The Sepoy Mutiny was a watershed moment in Indian history. While it was brutally suppressed by the British, it shattered the illusion of invincibility that surrounded British rule and intensified calls for independence.
So it was a loss in the short term, but a win in the long term. The beginning of the end for British rule in India.
The Sepoy Mutiny marked a turning point in the relationship between Britain and India. In the aftermath of the mutiny, the British government dissolved the East India Company and assumed direct control over India, ushering in the era of the British Raj.
The British Raj, that's the period when India became a full-fledged British colony, right? The jewel in the crown of the British Empire.
The British Raj lasted from 1858 to 1947, a period of profound change and upheaval for India. The British implemented administrative reforms, introduced modern infrastructure, and established educational institutions. However, they also exploited India's resources, suppressed local industries, and imposed their own cultural values, often at the expense of Indian traditions and sensibilities.
So it was like a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
The British brought some good things to India, but they also took a lot away and treated the Indians like second-class citizens in their own country.
The British Raj was a complex and contradictory period marked by both progress and exploitation, modernization, and oppression. Its legacy continues to be debated and analyzed today as India grapples with the long-term consequences of colonial rule.
But even the British Empire couldn't last forever. What finally led to India's independence? Did the Brits just pack up and leave, or did they have to be kicked out?
India's struggle for independence was a long and arduous one marked by decades of peaceful protests, civil disobedience, and political activism. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel played pivotal roles in mobilizing the Indian people and challenging British rule.
Gandhi, the little dude with the loincloth and the hunger strikes, he seems like an unlikely revolutionary.
Mahatma Gandhi, despite his unassuming appearance, was a charismatic and visionary leader who employed nonviolent resistance to challenge British authority and inspire millions of Indians to join the struggle for independence. His philosophy of satyagraha, or truth force, proved to be a powerful weapon against British imperialism, exposing the moral bankruptcy of colonial rule and galvanizing international support for India's cause.
So Gandhi was like a Jedi master, using the force of truth and nonviolence to defeat the evil empire.
Gandhi's leadership was instrumental in India's struggle for independence. His unwavering belief in the power of nonviolent resistance and his commitment to social justice inspired generations of activists and continue to influence movements for peace and equality around the world.
Okay, so Gandhi and his posse of freedom fighters finally managed to wear down the British, and India gets its independence. But it wasn't exactly a clean break, was it? There was that whole partition thing, which sounds like a real clusterfuck.
The partition of British India in 1947, which led to the creation of the independent nations of India and Pakistan, was a deeply traumatic and violent event. Millions of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs were displaced, and communal violence erupted across the subcontinent, claiming hundreds of thousands of lives.
So it's like a happy ending with a side of tragedy, freedom at a terrible cost.
The partition of India remains a deeply painful and contentious issue, a reminder of the human cost of political divisions and the enduring legacy of colonialism.
Damn, that's heavy stuff. But hey, India survived all that and emerged as a new nation ready to take on the world. What were those early years like? Was it all sunshine and roses, or did they face a whole new set of challenges?
Independent India faced numerous challenges in its early years, including poverty, illiteracy, social inequality, and the task of integrating diverse linguistic and religious communities into a cohesive nation. However, under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru, India's first prime minister, the country embarked on an ambitious program of modernization, industrialization, and social reform, laying the foundation for the modern Indian state.
Nehru, huh? Wasn't he Gandhi's right-hand man?
Jawaharlal Nehru was a towering figure in Indian politics, a close associate of Gandhi, and a key architect of independent India. He played a crucial role in shaping India's foreign policy, its commitment to non-alignment during the Cold War, and its aspirations for economic development and social progress.
So he was like the CEO of the newly formed India Inc., trying to navigate the choppy waters of the post-colonial world.
Nehru's leadership was instrumental in guiding India through its formative years, establishing democratic institutions, promoting scientific and technological advancements, and laying the groundwork for a modern and independent nation.
Okay, so India's independent. They've got a new government, and they're trying to figure out their place in the world. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? There must have been some bumps along the road.
India's post-independence journey has been marked by both triumphs and setbacks. The country has faced wars with its neighbors, internal conflicts, political assassinations, economic crises, and social unrest. However, it has also made significant strides in poverty reduction, literacy rates, technological advancements, and its emergence as a global economic power.
So it's been a roller coaster ride. Highs and lows, twists and turns, and a whole lot of unexpected surprises.
India's story is one of resilience, adaptability, and constant evolution. It's a nation that has faced immense challenges, but has emerged as a vibrant democracy, a diverse and dynamic society, and a major player on the global stage. Its journey continues to unfold, and its future remains full of possibilities.
Well, that's a pretty damn good note to end on. So there you have it, folks. A taste of India and all its messy, glorious, contradictory glory. A country of mind-blowing contrasts where ancient wisdom meets modern mayhem and where the only constant is change. It's a place where spirituality and poverty collide with technological innovation and economic growth. A land where tradition and modernity are constantly in a goddamn dance-off.
It's a land that will challenge your assumptions, captivate your senses, and leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the world. A journey through India is not for the faint of heart, but for those who dare to venture beyond their comfort zones and embrace the chaos. It's an experience that will transform you forever.
So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into the glorious clusterfuck that is India. We've laughed, we've learned, we've probably offended a few people along the way, but hey, that's what we do best. And remember, stay curious, keep exploring, and don't be a bunch of ignorant fucks. Peace out.